turn things over to our boy Andrew, and he's going to get us started with the intro.
For me personally, I've been waiting for a horse. Ever since I was little, I'd always loved animals, and so every year, like for the fair, we would ride ponies, well, I would. I'd always wanted one, and at first it was just because they were cute. Doing lessons, I realized that I wanted one, so I did research and got to know more about them, but my situation didn't work out well, so it was just sad knowing that I knew enough to take care of one and that I couldn't reach that goal. Well, he's taught me patience, definitely. God has shown me that if I just trust in him, like I said, patience, he'll make a path and an opportunity. So I'd just say, trust in him. Don't forget that he loves you and that he'll help you through it, because he's definitely shown me that. And although I haven't gotten to that goal yet, he's, like I said, given me many opportunities. They just haven't worked out yet. So I would just say, like, keep trusting in him.
What is it to wait? Waiting is being still. It is an invitation to trust. It is surrendering control. Waiting is enduring with patience. It is uncomfortable growth. It is resting in God's timing. Waiting is a pause, not an ending. It is listening for the next step. It is refining your heart, allowing space for grace. Waiting is a quiet resistance to hurry. It is learning to sit with discomfort. It is an invitation to trust deeper. Waiting is not passive, but intentional. It is being present in the unknown. Waiting is the in-between of death and resurrection. The art of waiting is to know God, experience his love, and receive his grace.
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Hello. I'm going to trade out the things real quick. But how's everyone doing today? Tired?
I got 2 hours of sleep.
Okay, who slept well last night? Just thumbs up. And then who didn't? Just do a thumbs down. It's like a lot of people are doing thumbs down. You got home at 9 o'clock? So did you guys sleep worse this past weekend, or did you guys just sleep same old, same old? Worse? Same old. Ah. You just didn't sleep at all? Dang. Well, today we'll be talking about uncomfortable growth in the series, The Art of Waiting, which I'm excited to talk with you guys about. So who here, by a show of hands, is waiting for something? Whether you're waiting to get better grades, you're waiting to get new clothes, you're waiting for that relationship to work out, whatever it is, who's waiting for something? To not be grounded anymore? That's fair. That's really fair. Okay, and who, by a show of hands, who loves waiting? A couple. Michelle, you like waiting? You kind of like waiting? But Bella, you like waiting? It teaches you. That's true. It does teach you to wait. A majority of us, though, don't like to wait, and I'm right there with you guys. I'm like, when I find out I have to wait for something, I'm like, I want nothing to do with that, because that just doesn't sound like a good time. There's usually just two sides of waiting. There's either the side when you find out you have to wait, you're like, I'm excited, it could go by fast, or the thing that you're waiting for just gives you so much joy that nothing else matters. And then there's this other side of waiting where it just feels uncomfortable. You feel just afraid. And maybe it's not the thing that you're waiting for makes you afraid, but it's the journey, the process of getting there that makes you uncomfortable. So today we're going to look at a man's story who felt uncomfortable, and the only option he had was to wait on the Lord. So let's open up to Mark 5. And first we're going to look at verses 21 to 23.
Can I get it? Can I get it?
No. Let me know when you guys got it. You got it? What page is it on? Oh, you have it on your phone. Never mind. 539. Yeah. And then 602, because we have two different Bibles, same stuff in them, except they're just different page numbers. So 602 and 539. All right. Chapter 5, 21 through, and then we're first going to read 21 to 23. And it says, when Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him. While he was by the lake, then one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her, so that she will be healed and live." So what we have here is Jairus comes to Jesus and is begging for Jesus to help him. He has a problem. He has a situation going on and is at Jesus' feet asking for help. And for Jairus, this is a really big deal because Jairus is a synagogue leader. And back in the times that this was there, synagogue leaders did not like Jesus at all. They wanted to get rid of Jesus. And so for Jairus to go to the literal feet of Jesus, Jairus had to put down his reputation, to let go of what other people thought of him, to go to Jesus' feet. He then also had to put down his pride, because he's used to being the one to directing people, saying, hey, you go here, or being a problem solver and saying, I know how to figure out X, Y, and Z. And he had to just kind of let that go as well, to go to Jesus' feet. And just how many here, and we don't need a show of hands, but just how many here are kind of like Jairus? You know, you see a problem and you know how to fix it. And you're like, yep, I can solve that, X, Y, and Z, or I want to go and help with that. And I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a problem solver and getting into any of those things, because I know I do that. I'm like, yep, that's the problem. Let's go fix it. But I think it becomes an issue when we begin depending more on our solutions than the one who gave us the roadmap to all solutions, which is God. So where does that bring us? For point number 1, we need to be at the feet of Jesus. We are not made to fix everything on our own. We are made to be dependent on God, even when the circumstances look doubtful, even when we're unsure of what to do and what not to do. So after Jairus went to the feet of Jesus, they began on their way. So they're on their way to Jairus' house. And as they're on their way to Jairus' house, there's a huge crowd of people. Imagine, has anyone seen a mosh pit or something like that? Just tons and tons of people. Kind of thinking something like that, of just swarms of people walking with them. And everyone's bumping each other, touching. And then all of a sudden, Jesus literally feels his power, some of his power has left him. And so he stops and is looking around and asking, who touched me? Who touched me? And imagine you're in this huge crowd, kind of similar to a mosh pit. And you're like, well, everyone's touching, everyone, we can't figure it out. But then this lady, she comes forward and she said, it was me. It's a lady that had been bleeding for 12 years. And she was like, it's me. I've been healed now. And for this lady, for her to be bleeding for that long, she was known as unclean. And then she was known to be unclean. And then for her to come into the crowd of people and just be around them like that, that was something that was just not allowed. But it was okay for her to be there because Jesus cleaned her. He healed her, miraculously healed her. So Jesus pauses and starts talking with her. Now imagine being Jairus in this situation. You're on your way to your house with Jesus. You have the faith to believe that your daughter will be saved. And I know most of you probably don't have children, but imagine just that thing that you want more than ever. You're going to God and you're like, God, like, I want this so bad. And then you see someone else get it. And you're like, Lord, like, what is going on over here? It doesn't make sense. I think this story just kind of like illustrates for us that it's an encouragement for us that God sees us and he sees our desires and he knows us. For this story, like particularly, this woman, she's been bleeding for 12 years. Later in the text, we find out Jairus' daughter was 12 years old. It wasn't a coincidence that the lady has been bleeding for 12 years old, and that this daughter is 12 years old, and that she was healed at the time that she was. I think we also need to remember and know that God is not a one-size-fits-all God when it comes to meeting us where we are at, meaning he may do different things in different seasons, and that's okay. So let's take a look back at verses 35 through 36. You might have to turn the pages. While Jesus was still speaking, and he's speaking with that woman who had just been miraculously healed, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. Your daughter is dead, they said. Why bother the teacher anymore? Overhearing this, what they said, Jesus told him, don't be afraid, just believe. So here comes people from Jairus' house. They were just with Jairus' daughter, and they see that Jairus' daughter has died, or they heard, somehow they had the knowledge that Jairus' daughter has died. And so they go over to Jairus, and they're like, hey, your daughter has died. You just need to let go of hope. Let's just leave Jesus alone, and let's just go back to your house, and let's mourn and go and do that. But Jesus is like, being Jesus, he doesn't put up with things like that. When Jesus knows he can make a way, he doesn't put up with any lies or anything like that. So Jesus was like, hold on, wait. Don't be afraid, believe. And I think in a lot of our situations, it's easy to just stop and to let go and to give up because it's difficult, because things aren't going as we planned them to go. And so we need to have the faith. Do you have the faith to believe in what you're waiting for? To believe in God for what you're waiting for? Taking a look at Matthew 17, verse 20. It's not going to be up there, but I'll read it real quick. He replied, because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, mother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, Talitha kum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this and told them to give her something to eat. Let's just take a moment and just think about this. In the beginning of Jairus' story, he was just met with just a lot of just trials and stuff. Could you imagine if Jairus decided to give up before he got his blessing? Just decided to give up before he saw what God was going to do? He might have missed what Jesus was trying to show him through all of it. From the very start of all of his trials, he had to deal with going to Jesus' feet, putting down his reputation and his pride. Then he watched someone else get healed. And not only that, he went and people told him that his daughter had died. And then he went back to his house and listened to mourners just laughing about his situation, but finally receiving his blessing. Don't give up with the thing that you're waiting for. Continue to wait on God. Take it to the feet of Jesus because he is willing to walk but right beside you guys. In Jairus' story, I think it's super easy to see all the trials he faced, but there's also a lot of moments where Jesus was just right there with him, encouraging him throughout all of it. Right in the beginning, where Jairus went, when Jairus went to the feet of Jesus, Jesus got up and immediately went with Jairus on the way to Jairus' house. Then after that, we see Jesus showing Jairus that he can heal, that he is a healer. We also see Jesus comforting Jairus when he's told that his daughter has died. Then again, we see Jesus getting rid of the crowd and kicking out everyone that just doesn't need to be around in the house. And then finally, we see Jesus heal Jairus' daughter. Jesus